Welcome back to Math 109, Plane Trigonometry. In this video, we're going to take a look at some negative angle identities. So if I draw my coordinate plane, if we go back to Chapter 1 where we had the angle in standard position, I'm going to go ahead and draw this in the second quadrant, but everything I'm doing would be true in any quadrant. So we have the angle formed by that line and also the positive x-axis. And we're going to pick a point on that terminal side, which we're going to generically call xy. So I'm going to draw in the angle theta here. And I'm going to go ahead and put an arrow on the end of that so we know which way it's going. Well, now if I go that same amount in the opposite direction and draw a line there, there's going to be a point on that line that's directly below the point xy as I have it drawn. Now, if I drew it differently, it might be above. And it actually turns out that that point is going to be x negative y. So now we can, with that point, apply the definitions that we had in Chapter 1. And we get 6 trig functions: sine of negative theta, cosine of negative theta, tangent, cotangent, cosecant, and secant. So if we recall, the definition of sine is y over r. Well, in this case, y has become negative y, so it's negative y over r. Cosine is x over r. That didn't change, so we still get x over r. Tangent, y over x. Y has become negative, so it's negative y over x. Cotangent is just the reciprocal of tangent. I'm going to go ahead and write this as x over negative y. Cosecant, reciprocal of the sine, so that'll be r over negative y. And the secant is the reciprocal of the cosine, so that's r over x. Now, if I consider the definitions of the original angle, sine of theta is y over r, so I have the negative here, so sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine of theta. And that's going to be true for all of them that have a negative sign in there somewhere. So tangent of theta, or negative theta, is the negative tangent of theta. Same idea for the cosine, negative cotangent of theta. And the cosecant of negative theta is the negative cosecant of theta. Now with cosine and secant, nothing changed. So the cosine of negative theta is equal to the cosine of theta. And the secant of negative theta is equal to the secant of theta. Now if you recall the extra credit on your last exam, we talked about odd and even. So it turns out, by looking at this, sine, tangent, cotangent, and cosecant are odd functions, whereas cosine and secant are even functions. So these identities are going to be useful for us as we progress through Chapter 5, as we start proving some more identities. I would also recommend, if you need a refresher on it, that you review the videos from Section 1.4 of our text on the Pythagorean identities and the quotient identities, as these will also be very useful as we study this section on trigonometric identities.